I think this is the most expensive part I bought for this hobby stock motor so far. Do you think? What is up? This is Cherezian Racing again, and I'm Ryan. The last time you guys saw me working on the hobby stock motor, I had put the cylinder heads on, and that was the last thing you see me do. And I told you that I was going to go ahead and show you guys how I degree in the cam and what I'm setting it to. And I've already done a degree in the cam video the last time I built the motor, which was for the super truck. That was about 2 years ago. I'll go ahead and attach that link of that video in the description of this one, so you guys can go ahead and check it out. But that degree in the cam was different than this one was because I didn't have the cylinder heads on when I did that. And so I had my little block plate that will stop the piston at TDC and get the degree wheel all centered up. But I figured might as well show you guys now how to do it with the heads on, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. So I guess I'll take this intake manifold off that was not bolted down. This is a Eldebrock EPS 2701, which is the IMCA legal intake. It's also legal for a hobby stock, and it's a dual plane. And what I was going to be running on this thing to begin with is what it had on it, which was a single plane, a Torker 2 manifold, which is not the greatest for this combination. That's more of a higher RPM intake manifold. Honestly, I don't like the way those are designed anyways. So this is going to be an overall better manifold for us. It's going to have better low end torque and kind of fit the power curve of this camshaft and motor all together. So I scored this baby on Marketplace for $100, which is, I think, a pretty good deal, considering it has not been molested at all. It's a virgin intake, hasn't been cut, and it's in pretty dang good shape. So pulled the intake manifold off. First thing I gotta do is stick a lifter in the cylinder number 1 intake lifter bore right there. All right, it's in. I'm not going to really get into a lot of detail in this video on how all the green works. If you really want to know that, just make sure you watch the last video that I will link in the description from when I did on the super truck. But I'm just going to show you real quick on how to do it with the cylinder head on and what I got with my intake center line. All right, I got my degree wheel on, and it's not really tight, so I can still spin it. I have my indicator here that is made out of a coat hanger that's bolted down. And so what we're going to need to do here is stop the piston on its travel up to top dead center. And so you can use an old spark plug, drill it out, and then tap it so you can thread a bolt through it. But when you do this, you got to make sure that you have your rocker arms off, because you don't want your valves moving once you stick this big old long thing inside your cylinder head. So I'm going to go ahead and thread it in the cylinder number 1, let it bottom out, and then start cranking this baby over. All right, so I got that baby threaded in a good amount. Now I'm coming up. I already checked it out. I'm coming up on my stroke here. So right there, I bottomed out. So don't touch that. Don't even look at it, all right? We got our number here to start with. So we're looking at, it looks about 30, we'll say 34 for the sake of the video. 34, all right? Now you're gonna go ahead and put this baby in reverse, and go all the way back around until it hits it again on its way up, and we'll see what the reading is. Okay, that's where it stopped, and we're looking at 4 degrees the other direction. So we need to make this 0. So let's just imagine that we're over here again. All right, we're at 35 or whatever. I said 34. We need to be right smack dead in the middle of here and there. And so right now our 0 is here. We need to bring that right in the middle. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our number here, 34, and our number over here, which is 4, and we're going to basically add those two together. So you're going to take 34 plus 4, that's 38 degrees. You're going to divide that in 2. And so what is that? 38 divided by 2. I'm not very good at math, but I believe that's about 19. So you're going to want to loosen this baby up just a pinch, and then we're going to rotate it until we get to that 19 degree mark. which is right about there. I would say that's 19 degrees, wouldn't you guys? And we're gonna go ahead and lock it down. And then we're just gonna double check it. So we know we're at TDC on one side. We can just go ahead and double check it real quick again. But we're coming up left, hit it. 19. So if we did this right, we should be coming up and hitting 19 on the other side. And then we know that this degree wheel is totally centered. And in this case, we're not. We're at 18, or maybe 17 and a half. So what we're gonna do is just barely adjust it a little bit. We're gonna maybe move it, let's just call it 18, because this looks about 17 and a half. I think if we do 18 on both sides, that might be a winner. So let's go ahead and just do that real quick. Right there, it looks like about 18. All right, reverse, reverse. 18, all right. Make sure that guy's locked down, don't touch it, don't even look at it until we start checking stuff. But that's how you just zero in the degree wheel. So now we can go ahead and take it off and then take our doodad out here, out of the cylinder head. So first step is to take off the guide plate. So I'm gonna break these bad boys loose. And as you can see, the shop is still a total disaster. That Duramax is one hell of a nightmare. It's just been one problem after the next. But you guys will see probably that in the next video of me actually getting that thing back together. Hopefully. Oh boy. Okay, so like in the last video, again, I'm using a 7/16 inch, 1/4 inch socket that fits in that lifter pretty dang tight. And so then you're gonna need to get yourself a long 1/4 inch extension or a series of 1/4 inch extensions so you can insert it in the socket and then be high enough up so it's not hitting the bottom of where the pushrod guide hole right there is. So that will do it. But then you got this big old gaping hole right here. So what I'm gonna do is take this little bolt, stick it in there, but it's kind of wobbly, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it with some electrical tape so it fits in there snug, so we have a nice smooth and flat platform here to put our dial indicator on. All right, show you how I got it mounted. I got it zeroed out right now, but that's how I got it. The little magnetic base right there turned on. So now we're gonna just start rotating this bad boy and looking at this guy. Obviously we're rotating with the rotation of the crankshaft, so it's clockwise. And let's see what she's gonna be putting out here. All right, that's 10 thousandths, 100 thousandths, 200 thousandths, 300 thousandths, 300 and looks about 29 thousandths, 329 thousandths. So if you go ahead and look at your cam card, it should show you what your low lift's supposed to be. Ours says that it should be about 330, so I'd say it's pretty dang close, about 1/1000th off. That's a lobe lift, so you're gonna multiply that by your rocker arm ratio. In this case, I'm gonna put 1.6 ratio rockers on it, so it's gonna be coming out to, I think, about 540 inches of lift, or 540 thousandths of lift. So that is our lobe lift, but we're looking for the intake center line here so we can install it where we want to install it at. So that is our our 329 thousandths of total lobe lift. So we're going to go ahead and zero that out here at the gauge. Okay, all right, once you think you got it zeroed, you can go ahead and rock it, go forward a little bit, see where it comes out at. Oh, I'm already going the other way here. I got to go left. So back it up, should land about 0, which it is, and then go ahead and come back, reverse it, go the other way, make sure it comes to 0, and it's pretty dang close. So that we know for sure is zeroed out. Our degree wheel here is zeroed out, so we're gonna back this baby up again, and we're gonna be looking for 50 thousandths before hit 50. I gotta go really smooth here to get it right, but we're looking for 50 thousandths. There it is. Okay, Now we're gonna write down the number here. This number looks to me about 61. So I'm gonna write that number down, 61 degrees. Okay, now we're gonna keep on going, keep on turning it clockwise. We're gonna hit 0, and when we come back down to 50, we're gonna stop it right there. So, again, pushing down. There is 0. And we're coming back down to 50 thousandths. And I gotta be real gentle with this thing because you gotta be smooth with this. You don't wanna pass it. Right there is 50 thousandths. And now we're gonna look at it, and this looks to me about 148. So write that number down as well. All right, so it's as simple as just putting the two numbers together and adding them. So you're gonna do 61 plus your, sorry, you can't even see that, 148. That equals 209. You divide number by 2, and that is your intake center line. So we have this intake center line degreed into 104.5 degrees. All right, now we're done degreeing in the cam. If you didn't like your number, let's say that, you know, the 104 degrees intake center line was not what you're looking for, you want to advance it a little bit, then you can go ahead and do that one of maybe a few different ways, but all require taking this degree wheel back off here. So the options are, sometimes they have crankshafts down here, crankshaft sprockets. They have different holes. It's kind of hard to see with this guy off, but you see that there's the dowel there. Well, on some of these gears there'll be other dowels, like there's another slot right there, you can put it there, and also one over there. This is a adjustable sprocket. I think each one will advance or retard the gear about 2 degrees depending on what you're looking for. I already have it in the most advanced section here of the crank sprocket because I wanted it about 104 degrees, and it was coming in when I first checked it about 106. So that's where I want it. I wish I could maybe get maybe another degree or 2 more advanced to get it maybe at like 103 or 102, but I'll just go ahead and try it at 104 first. Dang, my camera died. So anyways, you can adjust with the adjustable sprocket down here, the crankshaft. There's the adjustable timing gears here that might be slotted, and you can kind of rotate the cam and then tighten down the cam bolts. There's also different bushings. See, there's like a little dowel pin here. Sometimes these cam gears will have a little hole drilled in them, and then there's different bushings you can put in there, and each bushing is hogged out a little bit differently, so it'll give you some advance or retardation, whatever you want. But that's where I'm going to keep it. 104 degrees intake center line. This is a 108 LSA cam. All right, I got the degree wheel off, so I figured I'd give you a little better shot of the extra slots they have on the crank sprocket. There's only 2 of them. Some of the crank sprockets will have more than that. They'll have, you know, maybe 6, or I've even seen some that have more than 6. I think they got like 12 and just a crazy amount of different slots. But this one right here, I believe this is a Comp Cams set. Part number is 3100. It's a double roller, nice. The chain is tight on both sides, so she's ready to rock and roll. All right, so I pulled the camshaft out. This guy is still dry. I haven't lubed it up yet. Just figured I'd show you guys how I install it and the type of assembly grease I put on there. But first things first is I want to take my lifter, and I went through every single lifter hole and made sure that the lifter came up and down nice and easy. No binding. Should be like butter on every single lifter bore. So that's said and done. Now I'm gonna go ahead and lube up the lifter bores, and it's a lot easier to do this when you don't have the cylinder heads on, but I already got them on, so I'll show you the hard way. Okay, got my clean glove on. This is literally just motor oil and nothing else. And I just go ahead and stick it down on the bore and get it nice up and lubed, and I'm gonna do that on every single one. Put plenty of oil in there for a nice lubed up first start. All right, now that the lifter bores are all lubed up, it's time for the camshaft. So what I use a type of Molly type assembly lube that's meant for cam lifter break-ins, for flat tapping obviously, camshaft here. And what I'll do is I'll put this stuff on every single lobe, including the distributor gear and the fuel pump cam. And then the journalist here on the camshaft himself will put the regular old motor oil that I put in lifter bores. And It's a messy job, but you just gotta get through it, wear some gloves, and use this stuff pretty liberally because this is good stuff. All right, the lobes are lubed up with the Moly assembly lube. Now I'm doing the top of the lifters, just the top. And I just wanted to show you right before I put these in. See a little hole in the middle? Yeah, that's the EDM hole. Basically, it's an oil hole that goes right on top of the lobe. I have never once in my whole life wiped out a small block Chevy flat type of cam before, and I pretty much have exclusively used these lifters right here. They're the Howard cams, 9, 11, 18 lifters. I think this is the most expensive part I bought for this hobby stock motor so far. These things are like 220 bucks. They're expensive, but they're really, really good. I think that hole, that lube hole really is the deciding factor on whether these cams go flat or not. They're high dollar, but you know, 220 bucks is not expensive for a motor, and I'll easily, happily spend that on something I know they'll let that cam, excuse me, live the entire life of this motor. All right, got everything lubed up besides the last one here. I like to put 3 long bolts in here so I can grab it out here and then just guide it nice and easy. All right, lubed up that last journal before I slid it all the way in. Now I'll just put some more engine oil on the thrust surface here on the cam gear. Lubed it all up, ready to put it back on. All right, gonna make sure this guy looks good. I'm sure it does, it's brand new. Hit it with a little bit of that engine oil right there. Spread it on with your clean gloves and try not to intermix it with the Moly type grease on the face there. And so that's pretty much it. Get it all lubed up. Hold it upside down as long as you can. And then when you're ready, go ahead and do a quick little plopper in. It's ready to go. Got all the lifters in, as you guys saw in the time lapse. Now some people like to soak the lifters in like basically a bath of oil overnight or whatever to pre-fill them and get them all lubed up. And that's all well and good, but I like to prime the absolute crap out of the engine before I run it. So all those lifters are gonna get all full with oil no matter what when I do the oil priming, so I'm not worried about it. So those are in. I'm gonna go ahead and start doing the rocker arm geometry here. And I figure I'll show you guys how I do it real quick. I can't put the rocker arms on yet because I haven't bought them. I gotta get my 1.6 ratio rocker arms that are stamped steel, stock appearing ones. Just haven't bought them yet. Gotta get on the summit probably tomorrow and order them up. Hope I have enough money in my account. They're like not the most cheap things out there, but they're not as much lifters, that's for dang sure. I think they're like 180 bucks for I think the whole set or whatever. So anyways, this is how I do it. This is a tool that checks the rocker arm geometry with the pushrod length. So let me run through this real quick with you guys. So this is the exact way I do it on all my race motors. I have this tool right here. It's Manly, it's 421/32. And this doodad right here is made for the 7/16 rocker studs. These are the smaller ones. These are 3/8. These are stock size. The 7/16 are bigger. They are basically what I run on like the super truck and all my other motors I build that run 8,000 RPMs. You want a little more stability there, but with the hobby stock motor, 3/8 are just fine. So I still use this guy, but what I do is I bush them. So I bought these guys. They're little inserts. They're cheap. They turn basically a 7/16 hole into a 3/8. So I've stacked a couple of these guys inside here and it fits perfectly. I've marked a V right here, so don't forget this is the valve side. It's kind of tricky sometimes, but anyways, you put your push rod in there, and I'm just gonna do one cylinder for you guys. But basically, you're gonna look. It's kind of like doing your ignition timing, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're gonna be putting the piston at TDC, or what we're really looking for here is the camshaft lobe to be on the base circle. So we're gonna watch for the lifters to go all the way down. So you rotate the crankshaft with the rotation. It's supposed to be clockwise. We see right now that this intake lifter right now is closing. So the way these guys work in a clockwise rotation is exhaust opens, then closes, then intake opens and closes. So once the intake has opened and closed all the way, then we know that both these lifters right here are on the base circle of the cam, and we can go ahead and check our rocker arm geometry. So let's wait for that guy to go down a little bit. Okay, she's down. I'll give her maybe a couple more turns. Right there. So we know both these lifters are on the bottom, and so we can go ahead and check them. As you see right here, I have the stud guide, or the guide plate here, sorry, loose on the rocker studs. I've backed them off a little bit, and that is by design. I'll show you in a second why I did that. But basically, I got a stock length push rod here, right here. I already checked it. That's a stock lengther. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in there just to check, see what we're like. We have these heads milled 24 thousandths or something like that, crazy. We have a 15 thousandth shim head gasket. So these guys are probably down a little farther than normal, but we'll check it. That's all we can do. So it goes on like that. And what we're looking for here is this guy to contact the valve tip, which it just did. And in a perfect world, it would touch the push rod at the exact same time. And to be completely honest here, let's see if I can get this guy on there. That is really close. Okay, there's a little bit of play, but that's not much at all. So let's go ahead and check our intake side now. Intake side down on the valve tip right there. And that guy is actually touching. They're both touching. So the intake is actually perfect. The exhaust side is just a little bit on the higher side, so we need a little bit longer push rod. But how much longer? Let's just go ahead and check it. I have a tool right here. This is the Cam's, geez, that light is bright. 7703-1. So this guy is an adjustable push rod. And so basically this is the stock length as it is right now. And then each turn, full revolution on this guy, as you can see the light, or the dots just lined up, is 50 thousandths. So if this is stock, and we know that we need a little bit more right here, let's just try one full turn and see if that's gonna do it for us. Right there, okay, put it in. Let's see what she looks like. Light back on. Okay, now 50 thousandths is too much because we've come off the valve tip here. So let's go ahead and, I don't know, let's do half a turn instead of a full turn, which is right about there, I think, yeah. Okay, that is touching. So basically this push rod on this exhaust valve needs to be about 25 thousandths longer than the intake side. Honestly, I'm not gonna run different length valves or push rods in this motor. What you're gonna wanna do is do this on every single valve and find the average. And basically, whatever the average is, that's the push rod you're gonna buy. Don't worry about it, just do it. It's not a big deal. But the other thing that you can do when you check these bad boys is put the rocker arms on them. 2 push rods in there, so let me get another push rod real quick. All right, got both push rods in there. As you can see, the valve tips I just colored with a Sharpie. So take a Sharpie and mark it all up on the tip of the valve. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put a old standard 1.5 stock rocker arm on just to show you guys. But basically, we're gonna basically mock it up here, both sides. All right, so I'm putting the poly locks on, and I'm just gonna turn it down to basically where it bottoms out, so there's no lash in the push rod here. Just real easy and tight. Boom, right there. Push rod barely wants to spin. So basically, essentially what we're gonna do here is we're gonna run a pattern and take a look at what it looks like on the valve tips. But the reason I left the guide plate loose here is because there's a little bit of slop in it. And so when you look at the valves here, you can go ahead and twist the guide plate, and you can see that the rocker arms move oh so slightly. So you can kind of center both the rocker arms as best you possibly can with the guide plate, and then once you have it in the right position, you can then go ahead and lock down the rocker studs just to make it as bulletproof as possible and try to get the alignment as best as you can over the center of the valve. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten these guys down like I just did. And now we're gonna roll the motor over a couple times. But first, I think I'm gonna go ahead and also check my valve lift at the same time here. We already checked the lobe lift at the lifter. And so I just wanna see if these guys really are 1.5 ratio rocker arms. I'm sure they are, but why not check? I'll just show you guys how I do it real quick. All right, we're actually gonna put it on the valve retainer here, get it perfectly perpendicular to, I guess, where the valve face would be, and parallel with the valve tip and stem. And then also, you wanna make sure it's coming down at the exact same angle as the valve stem on this side. So looking at it this way and that way, give you the most accurate results. So we're sitting at 0 right now, and I know it's down there on the base circle, so we're gonna go ahead and rock it back and start counting the turns here. So, come on baby, let's start moving here for me. So we got 1 revolution, 2, 3, 4, and oh, just passed it. So there, looks like, is our max lift on the intake valve here. So let's think about that. That was 4 revolutions, 400, and we're going backwards here. So almost 470 thousandths of intake valve lift, which is not quite what it needs to be. That's interesting, because we had 329 thousandths of lobe lift. So let's do the math real quick. I got a feeling that this rocker arm is not what it's supposed to be. So let's go ahead and multiply everything here. So you're gonna do 329 thousandths of lobe lift, that's what we measured earlier. Multiply that by what these rocker arms should be, the ratio, which is a 1.5 ratio. We should be looking at 493 thousandths, and we're only at 468. So that tells me, let's do the math again and figure out what this guy actually is. So 329 times, let's say this is a 1.4 ratio rocker arm, all right? Yeah, so this guy ain't exactly a 1.5 ratio rocker arm. That's kind of how these stock rocker arms are. They're not exactly what they're supposed to be. So this guy's like a 1.425 ratio rocker arm. So that is the reason I'm buying the better 1.6 ratio rocker arms the aftermarket provides. So good to check that. I wasn't looking for that, but now you guys can see, and now I found out that these rocker arms are no good, basically. You want more lift. The more lift you get, the better. So anyways, let's keep on going and running a pattern on these guys. So we got the intake all the way up. Let's go ahead and rock this baby back over. Yep, she's still tight. And get the exhaust going here. All right. Let's do it one more time. Let's go back around. So coming up, exhaust opening, exhaust closing, intake opening, intake closing, all the way closed. All right, check it out. All right, so this demonstration I'm doing for you guys is not working out the way I hoped it would. So basically we know that these rocker arms are not the ratio they're supposed to be, so they're kind of junk. And also, the tip of the rocker arm here is not what it's supposed to be either. They're supposed to have a nice convex to them right there, a nice radius, which they don't really have. It's kind of flat, and also they're supposed to be flat this way across the valve, and as you can see, it's got some wear on it, and it's kind of doing this little like a dish. So basically you're not getting a good pattern like we should, so I can't really show you guys very much, but you can see that from here to here basically is, I think, where it's riding at. But let me just show you real quick what it's supposed to look like. It's a lot easier to do this if you have roller tip rocker arms to check your pattern, or you know, a brand new set of these guys that are actually decent. But basically can't really see much here. What we're looking for is, you're looking for a line that basically mimics like straight across the valve, obviously, and all the way across an even line. You're looking for full contact all the way across the valve. And of course, this is not going to be able to do a very good job of showing what it's supposed to look like. Let me do a better job with some brake clean or something for you guys. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm gonna restart this thing all over again for the purpose of this demonstration only. All right, I just snagged a full roller rocker arm from the Super Truck's old motor, but it's a 7/16 stud. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the sleeve on first, drop this rocker arm over the sleeve, and then we're gonna go ahead and run a pattern on it. All right, let's do it real quick. And all we're doing here is checking the push rod length and if it's correct. So let's check it out. One run. I'm not sure if that's gonna be enough to see a good pattern, but we'll see in a second here. Nope, gotta do a couple more times. All right, so I figured if we're gonna do it a couple more times, might as well put the gauge on it. That is a 1.52 ratio rocker arm, so let's see what it looks like now. All right, we're at 0, coming up. 1, well, that's a quick one. 2, 3, 4. Oh, look at that. 487. And I said it was supposed to be 490,000. So 487 is a whole lot closer than 468. So yeah, that rocker arm I'd say is a 1.5 ratio. The other one, definitely not. So you guys can now see it's supposed to be what it's supposed to be. Okay, survey says it's a little bit easier to see now. So this camera is not going to pick it up very well, but I'm going to show you. With the eye, you can see that there is a distinctive line right here. It lays across the valve like that, and then it goes from here down to about there. And it's even all the way across, and basically what you're looking for is you want that line to be pretty much in the center of the valve tip. You don't want it to be coming on the edge of either side here, and you do want to see it all the way across, which I do see. It's a distinctive line here and a pretty good line down here too. So that's what you're looking for, really. So long story short, looks like we got the right length push rod in there like our little tool said so, but I'm gonna go ahead and check all the rest. And basically what's gonna happen was I get my new rocker arms in, I'm gonna do that on every single valve just to make sure about, number one, my rocker arms are all what they're supposed to be, 1.6 ratio, and also making sure that they all look the same on all the valve tips. But normally every time I do this, when you get one right, they're pretty much all right on the money. So that's that. All right, so I just ordered up the push rods and the rocker arms and also the intake manifold gaskets for this motor. And so I'm gonna wait on those parts to show up. And I think I did a decent job of showing you guys how the valve train goes together and how I do it all. And hopefully between the two videos, this one and the last one, the Super Truck, you guys have a good idea how to green the cam for these dirt track motors and kind of an idea where to install them at. As far as the intake center line goes, but that's pretty much it for now. I'm probably getting this video. I know it's short and sweet, but that's all I got to show you guys right now. And once I get those parts in, I'll go ahead and get cracking on this motor a little more. It feels pretty good to get a good chunk of this motor done. I finally bit the bullet and bought some parts for it that I needed to do and getting the ball rolling here. So I'm gonna go ahead and wait for a nice sunny day and go ahead and paint this bad boy up before I get the intake manifold and shiny front cover on it and all that. I'm hoping this is gonna be a good motor. It kind of started out as a very, very, very budget build, but the farther I got into it, I got some decent parts in this motor now, so I'm hoping that this thing's gonna be a good runner and it's gonna be competitive and reliable. I'm sure it will be, but I just figured I got so much money into it now and invested in time that I just want it to be a good runner. Of course, I just want to get on the track, you know, get it in the car, just have something to go drive, but shoot, it's hard for me to go ahead and build a motor and not, you know, do as best I possibly can as far as performance. It's just like maybe a sickness in my head, you know? It's not possible to put something together half-assed as far as power and performance goes. So anyways, you guys remember, if it's bent, it ain't broken. I'll see you guys next time here on Cherezian Racing.